Hello, everyone. Today we are talking about no code, or I should say visual programming, adoption at scale with Frederic Najman. Thanks for joining us, Frederic. You worked for years for US companies and French ones. Could you start by sharing maybe your journey? What led you to from early experience in Silicon Valley to becoming like a leading advocate for no code and low code in AI in Europe?
Yes, sure. After my engineering school and my thesis, I work in the Silicon Valley, and I was pretty younger, and it was like amazing for me. And I had a unique opportunity to experience the rise of the digital technologies at the very heart of the innovation. And this experience allowed me to build a strong foundation in digital transformation and product management as well, because as you know, United States
Yeah.
are the kings of product
Yeah.
management and design, and as well as discover some early
Yeah.
version of no-code solutions. It was the early beginning. Upon returning to Europe, I recognized a really growing need to simplify tech processes, and saw a strong trend towards adopting no-code, low-code. And this realization inspired me to promote this approach in large enterprise. And it was really the early beginning. We didn't really talk about no-code or low-code, but we talked more about library,
Mm.
and we try for our own project to build some visual components as well.
Yeah, that should have been like an exciting times, right? To see all
Uh,
these guys that from the US from the years, all the product management, like this huge vibe from the US. They are like the poster child, like all the Marty Kagan and so on. They are all there. So Europe is always like watching US and like, oh yeah, with stars in the eyes, like,
right.
wow, this is crazy what they do. So that's awesome. Nowadays, I see that you define yourself as a CTO and a CPTO as a
Right.
service. What does it mean? How do you define those terms for listeners?
Being a CTO or a CPTO as a service means that I step into organization temporarily to help them drive their technology transformations. A CTO generally focused on technological aspect, while a CPTO, that means Chief Product and Technology Officer, combine both product vision and technology strategy. I tailor my approach based on the specific needs of each organization, focusing on technology alone when needed, or adding a product-driven perspective also.
Isn't that hard to have like these two approaches? How do you switch approaches from CTO to CTPTO?
No, I don't think that's hard. I think it's even necessary to handle the two topics. It's happened me very often that a company called me for specific techniques needs. But when you started the mission and you start to say and to ask, okay, so what do you need? And you see that the need, it's not that clear. And it's pretty hard and pretty risky also to choose some platform or some code architecture, whatever, if the needs, it's not clear. So in general, there is many companies that know what they actually add on the table, but they don't really are not very clear where they want to go. And before starting CTO missions, we need to make it clear about the product and where they want to go. So it's where my hat of product come. But I don't want to design myself. I'm a specialist in product design. I mean, the CTPO, it's
Mm,
certain kind that it's a PO with an input from the technology as well.
yeah, CPO. Most of the time, it's like the next step as product managers. We all want to, become CPO when they are never
Yeah,
go,
right.
the corporate ladder, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go there, but um, is it a good thing? I don't know. But it's it's like the successful pathway, and by that I mean like yeah, they all look the next step, right? As product managers, is it a success for you? Is it a goal in itself? What inspired you to become like a CTO or CPO? Was it important for you?
Yeah, I mean, what I like is simplifying and industrialize the technology. It's really essential in the whole world today, and also because the complexity is constantly increasing. As we say, it's so easy to make the things complicated and so difficult to make them simple, right? And
Oh, yes.
that's something that inspired me when I was in the US. I like when you see an iPhone, for example. I mean, it's only one button, and with one button you can. And even
Mm,
today, you don't need the button because the vocal. And I like the idea that
yeah,
you have it's rocket science what you have in your hands, and you can activate so many
yeah.
functions, and it's so simple. And I think it's very inspiring to think that because you have good skill in
Mm.
technology and also understanding the product size, that you can make the world easier, and it's very inspiring.
Yeah, it's very hard to be simple, right? It's not easy to make things simple.
Yeah, right. It's so easy to make
And
it
there's this
complicated
great,
also.
exactly,
Yeah,
great quote from Da Vinci, which says, simplicity is supreme sophistication. And
I
I think that's it. Exactly. It's super hard.
absolutely agree.
Yeah. And I like this mindset of, lean, Six Sigma, very simple things. Like you try to remove things. Things are perfect when you can't remove anything else. So
Yeah.
I really like it. What does, maybe more philosophical questions, but I really wanted to ask you, what does a meaningful life look like to you?
You mean personally or in the tech industry in general?
Or maybe both.
Maybe both. Okay, there is something that is really count for me. It's nowadays more than ever, it's about the tech for good. I mean, because we are kind of people that we understand the technology, we should use our skills to see how we can make the life better. And I mean, with the various experiences that we had in the digital transformation and the groundbreaking with IA project, I think we should be very pragmatic. We can be also and see how we can make the world better and use this tech to make the things good. This is, I think, the same answer for personal and professional.
Yeah, I like it. And we
Yeah,
we go back again with this kind of simplicity, right? Kind
yeah,
of almost sobriety, I would say.
yeah.
Like almost this minimalistic vibe. Like low code, maybe low tech approach.
You're right. You're right.
Talking
And
about low tech, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Tell me.
love it. There,
Ah, you're right. Ah, yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, right. And maybe one day slow tech
yeah,
also.
I was going to make the jump. Like, is low the new high? Like low is like the new cool things, like about low tech. No, we can talk about low code adoption, and talking about low code adoption. Low code platforms are often seen as a way to democratize tech, right? In your experience, how are French companies adopting these solutions? Can you share any success stories from big companies?
Yeah, sure. First of all, it's very interesting to see that France is the third market, maybe even the second one, with Brazil and United States in the low code. And many US companies that we met in some events ask me why the French people adopt so
Yeah.
massively the no
Why?
code, and that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I have my opinion. It's very personal, but I'm also
Mm-hmm.
surprised that this time we are very in advance, and also Brazil. Brazil is very in advance in the adoption of no codes. And
Oh,
so
really?
we started to have very interesting feedback. The adoption of no code and low code solution is really growing among large French enterprise, and particularly in sector like banking or insurance.
Mm.
I don't know, you've been, Antonio, to the last no code summit this year, and you saw on
Yeah.
the stage we met people from Europe Assistance, we met people from BNP, we met people from Belfort, very large groups that
Mm.
started to adopt the no code. So that's it's very good news, and now we started to have some feedback, and that's super interesting to see that today no code is a
Mm.
serious platform for a serious company and for a serious project.
Yeah.
And for instance, that what we can really see, and that's really a successful, it's that reduce massively the time to market for some internal application, like business logic application in that company, from several
Mm.
months to just few weeks by leveraging these local tools. And for me, what we can see that demonstrates the significant agility that no-code can bring to traditional industry and corporate work. I
Yeah.
worked on some project, for example, because you asked, for example, with La Poste, and they told
Mm-hmm.
me that before a project internally used to take like sometime 2 to 3 years, and now it's counting in
Oh.
months. And it's not only because it's not only because the no code is easiest to code, I mean, to no code, to visual code. It's only also because before in this big industry or this big corporate, you have the IT, you have the business unit, and they have to work together. And very often the
Yeah.
IT is overbooked all the time. So you have a big waiting list. You have even a bottleneck for working with the IT internally. And because now you can put the no-code tools in the hand of the business directly, that speed up the process, the whole process of building. And La Poste is a very good example. But I think company like
Yeah.
BNP, for example, they want to use it as an internal platform for the open innovations because they realize how it
Yep.
make it more flexible, agile, and powerful at the same time.
Yeah. And in BNP in Belgium too, back then makes me think also in Belgium, I've seen that, years ago about, RPA was a very hype word back then. There was also RPA consultants, so in insurance and banking, it was very, very popular. You had tools like UiPath or Blue Prism. So yeah, they adopted those tools. And one of the reasons they liked it, it was like, because it was like an extra layer on top of core system. You didn't have to go inside, change all the system. So it was like a nice workaround to develop things faster, to automate things without, all these technical things to go to the pipeline and see what's behind. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
and also,
something I also mentioned here. Yeah.
yeah, I'm agree, Antonio, and what I see that changed the way we code for sure, because we continue to be
Mm.
developer, but we are less coder. We are still developer. Don't have to
Yeah.
be afraid about it. We are still developers. The logic does remain the same, but we use less code. But so this is an impact for sure in the project. Maybe one of the biggest impact is the team and the human and the process. We're always talking about agility, and now what we can see in the
Mm.
enterprise is that no codes become the best agility tool that we ever dream about it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, so
hyper.
yeah. So the impact is not only on the IT, but the impact is also on the human organizations of a project, and it's super interesting to see how it can impact the
Yeah.
corporate also project.
It's indeed it's a mindset shift, right? When I was organizing a hackathon in companies here, you could see that people start to like this kind of entrepreneurship spirit, and they also like to change. Actually, we used to say like everybody likes to change, nobody likes to change.
Right.
Um, it depends. If you engage people in a hackathon stuff like that, and you train them and say, "Here's the tool. I will teach you how to improve your job and do it yourself." It's not going to be replacing you. It's going to augment you. Then you see that stars in the eyes. People are really more, they are less reluctant about change, about automation, about AI. They are like, oh yeah, I can use that tool. I can be empowered by technology and not replaced. Very good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So change management, very important. And talking about the challenge, because that's a very good challenge. What are the challenges that companies face when implementing no code or low code solutions in terms of governance, data privacy,
Mhm.
GDPR, compliance, whatever you noticed?
That's a good question, and I think we can talk hours about it for each topics. I think that the primary challenges are related to governance and regulations and compliance, and as you say,
Mm,
particularly for GDPR. And if you are in a medical project, for example, you have like a HIPAA or HDAs for France, and I don't know in Belgium, but probably it's the same. And
mm,
so I think it's really essential to establish a clear governance for no-code applications and ensure that all the sensitive data is protected in compliance with security standards. And setting up structures, oversight, and aligning with data protection policies are really a key to overcoming
mm,
this obstacle. Also, there is a lot of issues around the CI/CD, the deployment, the compatibility also with the legacy systems. Because I mean, over years, we always try to bring new concept in this company. We pushed the cloud, we pushed the microservices. Every year there is a new topics like revolutions. Actually, they have the legacy. They develop an architecture, and we come now with a new concept. Like say now you should move to no code. Before it was you have to move to cloud, and before you have to move to services, and you have to
How
move
do
to
we do that?
SaaS. Okay. So I think it's super important to come with a strong insurance that we will be compatible with the legacy systems. And for sure about the challenge also, as we say, data privacy, GDPR, and all that stuff. Something that I think it's super interesting with the low-code stack. For example, if you take Xano, that is probably the most certified backend. It's still secure, still compatible with SOC 2, SOC 3, GDPR. So I think for company, it's free up some resources internally because you come with a stack that it's still secure and it's still certified and it's still compliant with the standard of the company. So I think it's super interesting, and especially for the middle-sized company that the CTO sometimes don't have the skills to get all these certifications. So I think it's an add value.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know those tools can also give the option of self-hosting, because sometimes people, CTOs and corporations would like to have like control, governance, say, okay, our data hosted in Europe, US, they want to have this access and control. What do you think about the self-hosting actually?
I think it's now
Is that
most of the serious no-code solutions offer a self-hosting option. It was not that case like even 2 years ago. It was limited, and I think it's really demands from the corporate. And more than that, there is some no-code tools you can self-host, but you have to host it in like GPC, for example, at Google. But there is some, especially in Europe, there is some companies that don't want to have their solution hosted on the GAFAM. So today there is many solutions that you can host on your own cloud, wherever it is, as soon as it's on the Kubernetes environment, for example. And I think it's really, really a good answer. It's in general more expensive than because you need to have your DevOps and to manage your own server. But for many companies, it's necessary to adopt the no-code and low-code. So I think if you choose a serious solutions, in general, they are all have an option for self-hosted on-premise.
You have to trust them, right? It's all about trust, right? And I think we are at this point now where people start to trust no-code platforms, because you talk about, vendor lock-in and what if the system and what if they change the price and what if there's a data leak, because you depend on the security of the platform, right? So
but somewhere it was
all those objections
always
were
like this. It was always like this. I mean, even if you use Excel, you have to trust Microsoft, so especially because now most of the solutions are in SaaS, also on the cloud. If you look Google Drive or whatever, so for sure, it's a question of trust also.
Yeah, you mentioned Excel, and people are still using a lot of Microsoft tools. And talking about Microsoft, when we discuss about low-code solutions, there are often comparisons, with Power Platform, Mendix, OutSystems. How do you respond to this comparison? How do you see all those tools evolving?
It's a good question also. I think each platform has its strengths. Power Platform, Mendix, OutSystem are well suited, I guess, for certain types of businesses, particularly those are already integrated into the Microsoft ecosystem or requiring more enterprise-grade customization option. I mean, however, choosing the right platform depends on the specific needs and also the customization requirements and the budget of the organization, because the tools that you mentioned are not that cheap. It's pretty expensive compared to the other no-code and low-code solution. My approach personally is to evaluate each platform based on these criteria to ensure that it's aligned with the company's strategic goals. Personally, I always prioritize solution where the front end and the back end have a certain level of autonomy, because at the end you become more
Mm.
agile. And also, I mean, in general, the business logic is more on the back end side. So if you want, you can
Yeah,
change the
indeed.
front end side. And we see that now the
Mm.
front end could be very different. Sometimes you need a mobile application. Sometimes it's automations, like you want to connect your Mac on it. Sometimes you want to connect also with other applications through API, whatever. So at my point, after all, it depends the project. But after all, it's better to have some solution where the backend and the front end is not directly mixed. Many people use like
Couple them, yeah.
Bubble. Okay, let's talk about this also
Yeah.
solution. It's a very nice solution and it can answer for some needs, but also the positive point and the negative points is the same. Everything is mixed front and back end, and this is not exactly my approach in general, but it could be a good answer also. And also this approach to
Mm.
separate front end and back end and enhance agility and performance in terms of market fit, because you can adapt the front and the back
Yeah.
independently. But anyway, OutSystem,
Yeah.
Medix, and Power Platform are good solution. I don't want to say bad things
No.
about these tools, but I think, like for example, Power Platform are in late in terms of solutions. I mean, for me, it's not really pure no code, but probably the expert in Power Platform
Mm.
will kill me if they hear that.
Yeah. Where's the sporadic community in Belgium?
Yeah, yeah, I
They're not
know.
listening. No worry.
Don't give my phone
But yeah,
number.
but I tried it too, so yeah, it's okay. But also one thing to mention, it's about also data ownership, because you mentioned Bubble and all those other tools. You have to make sure also the data, you own the data and you own the code, right? And we talked about self-hosting, but I
Yeah.
think also something interesting is like, can you export the code because it's yours? Can you export the data because it's yours? Is that an important feature as the self-hosting we mentioned earlier for you?
Yeah, for sure, data ownership is really a critical consideration, and especially for the enterprise with a strict data governance policies. And I'm thinking about medical or banking, insurance. No code and low code solution should provide options to control the data fully. For example, if you take Xano that we talking before, you can use the
Mm.
embedded database, but you can also create your own
Mm-hmm.
database in Postgre, for example, and connect to the Xano. So there is always few
I can
solutions
do that.
for the serious, I mean, for the serious
Mm-hmm.
stack to provide
Yeah.
option to control really this data and ensuring that it remains compliant with the internal standards and external regulations as well. I think it's really essential for the company to select the platform that align with their data protections policies and offer a
Mm.
full control over the data management. In most platforms, there are
Yeah.
often the choice to use the internal database or the SaaS mode or on-premise. So there is option, and this is it's a way to choose also the no-code stack. I mean, for the enterprise, that the data ownership is really important.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's the core of everything, right? Data, data,
Mm.
data. Especially nowadays with AI, everybody needs more data and aggregation, and to have data at the center. Talking about Xano, do you think that non-technical people can effectively learn those tools, like that tool, like Xano or WeWeb?
I think Zano and WeWeb, it's two different answer, I guess. It depends how you define technical people, okay? Because I think there is
Mm.
many people that are technical, but they don't know it. And I can give you a lot
Mm.
of example. In no code, we talk a lot about the citizen developer, and the citizen developer
Yes.
is maybe your cousin or your, I don't know, your grocery sellers. He become a developers, and in my experience, but even I mentioned that also in when I was student, that sometimes I met people that are amazing developer and they have no diploma,
Mm.
and sometimes you
Yeah.
met engineer and they are not that good developer. I think that the skills to be a no code developer can be very surprising. So it depends
Mm.
when I think Xano and also WeWeb can be teach to people that are not developer for sure, but for the kind of profile that they can understand the logic of the code of the development. So I know it's maybe not an easy answer. I'm sorry, but the good surprise, I think, is that we will discover, and it's super interesting for human resources in this company, because they can probably find a new jobs for new people. And I can give you a very nice example of, I used to work with a project for logistics. And I was talking with a guy that he used to organize the logistic in the factories. He was not developer. He just pushing box on truck. One day I asked him, do you want to try no code? And he wanted to stop to work because it's a very hard work. And in 2 months, he became an amazing developer, because I can feel from the beginning that he have the chance of the logic. So according to your question, can we say this guy is a tech guy or not? I don't know. But he has the mind to become a very nice and very good no-code developers. As soon as he don't have to learn the code, you don't need to have the logic. And I think it's where the difference is. It's that you don't need to learn for years to code and debug the code and whatever, but you have to learn the logic, and the concept is enough, and you can become a developer. And that's super interesting, humanly talking also.
Yeah, programming, it's logic.
Yeah, totally.
It's all about logic.
Yeah, and you also, I think, to answer your question also, there is some best practice that I give you an example. You want to use Xano. You train someone that don't know nothing about API, for example. He can understand the concept. But also there is best practice, how I'm naming my API or whatever. So this is something we have to teach to people, and maybe they will become more tech according to your description. But this is something that it's at my point still important if we want that the project it can be used internally in the company and be connected to other stacks, maybe in legacy stacks.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's cool I like this example of the guy pushing boxes. I really like it. Do you have other strategies to empower teams like that in companies that are a bit hesitant to adopt no code or low code?
I think it's essential to start with small and successful pilot projects that showcase the benefits of no code and low code. That's I think
agree.
It's the same for everything, but like just find a small pilot project and showcase internally, such as the speed and easy of use. And also advocate for workshops and hands-on training to build confidence. And myself, I'm organizing sometime the no-code day internally. And I think it's important to end on. When the team see the tangible results, they are more likely to embrace these tools and the new way of working. And additionally, having executive support and clear vision for no-code and low-code adoption can greatly help in shifting their organizational culture. Yeah, I think this is the right strategy.
Exactly.
Start small, make success, show the benefits, and
low-code, low salary. Do you agree?
It's a nice question. No, not necessarily. First of all, as demand for no-code, low-code skills grows, salaries in general are reflecting these needs. And while traditional developers often earn higher salary for their coding expertise, I think no-code and low-code specialists who can innovate rapidly are increasingly valued. And companies are really recognizing the unique skill set required to effectively leverage this platform. And competitive salaries are emerging in response to this demand. Maybe in the future it could change, I don't know, but not necessarily. And I want to say more generally, we always thinking that the company want to go in no code because it's cheaper, developer, cheaper. But my own experience, that is cheaper, that's sure. But it's cheaper not because the developer are cheaper. It's often cheaper because it's more agile and it's quicker. And I guess it's the first benefit the enterprise should see in no-code platforms. At the end of the day, it's reflecting in the cost of the whole project. But I don't think the developer will be cheaper, but the project will be cheaper at the end for sure.
I like this point of view because I was thinking about like a more pessimistic point of view. Like if the demand grows, that's okay. But if the offer grows too much, it's an offer and demand, right? Because it's very easy to, not very easy, sorry, but it's easier than programming. It takes less time than computer science to learn no code. Then you can have like a supply of offer, and demand is not growing as fast as the offer.
No, my bet is because the no code and low code is more accessible for all. With more internal projects can be done. I mean, I used to work in the enterprise for years and for decades even, and I can see that there is a lot of internal projects that never developed because there is too much and not enough resources. As soon as the time for developing a project in no code is shorter, I think the benefits for the enterprise, it's in the same time with the same budget, it can do more. And in the other side, for the developers, because we are talking about the salaries developers, maybe it will be the same salary, and I hope that. But because the project would be shorter, at the end, it will be maybe less revenues. But because there is so many projects to do now, there is and so at the end, it's a win-win. It's a win-win deal because the developer will develop like 4 or 5 projects per year when they used to develop 2 projects per year. But at the end of the day, the same number of days, and so the salary would be the same. And for the enterprise, it's a win also because in the same budget and time, they can do more projects. So I see the no code and low code as a win-win for all. Yeah, I guess.
Like it.
And I bet.
Like this bet. Thanks, Fred. Now let's talk about AI. You can't do a tech podcast without talking about AI.
For sure.
So, AI is transforming many aspects of technology, including no-code platforms or low-code platforms. How do you see the relationship between AI and no-code evolving? And what impact do you think it will have on software development in the next years?
I think if we combine AI with traditional coding, it could be also faster. But the no-code have a strong advantage in terms of accessibility and speed for building standard application and without requiring a full development teams. And I think what we started to see, there is a no code and the low code. Okay, just low code is when the no code. I mean, on the shell with no code, you have a lot of components. You can build dashboard, authentications. I want to say every piece of the application that we need in general are built on the shell. But sometimes for specific business logic, we need to develop more components and we need to go back on the code. Here come the AI. And the AI for me, it's in the middle, in the boundaries between the no code and the low code, and we'll push even a little bit more the low code, a little bit more on the far. That means what I can see today with the LLM that build so I want to say if you use the AI to make the low code more no code, that will help you a lot. So I think I see the AI like on this matter for the low code. That's more on the low code side, on the no code low code. I don't know if I'm very clear.
And it's clear.
Yeah, and that's super interesting. I saw some prototype for the next version of Xano and WeWeb also, and it's amazing that you can write in one sentence that you want to build I don't know what, a teaching application with flashcard. I did that last time, and you can see the database, the CRUD, and the functions built. So you need a low coder at the end to finalize, but you earn so much times, and that's probably amazing. Also, I started to saw some very interesting thing about the legacy. I think this is a topic. Just this morning, I was talking with a company that developed amazing tools in Pascal. It's that they developed for years and years and years in Pascal. Okay, they want to migrate to no code. How you can do that? From Pascal to no code, there is a
good stretch.
This dimension there, but with IA, you can do that. You can say, okay, convert, for example, in Xano, we have XanoScript that will help you to write. And if you go, for example, in Noah, I don't know if you know Noah, it's a competitor from Flow.
Yeah.
You can inject some code and it's transformed in no code. So if you use the AI to go from Pascal to Python, that still exists today with some LLM, from Python you can go to, so it's super interesting for the legacy. I believe in the future it will be a very nice tools to bring no code in legacy codes, and
Yeah, that's
specifically
interesting.
I see
Because
the
most of
AI.
the time we go from no code and we generate the code, but that's the opposite. Like it's like you go from
You have
code
the
and
code.
you write pseudo language, when you go to school and you have to.
Exactly. I see some AI project like that, and it will be very powerful for most of the enterprise. And I mean, you have a lot of like data scientists that developed a mini script and they want to import it now in the low-code stack. And with AI, it could really help.
Yeah. Did you try other idea like Cursor or Replit?
I try some, I've explored Cursor and some similar tools. I think they offer interesting possibilities for automating part of the coding process and integrating AI into the development workflow, for sure. I think these tools hint at the future of no code, for sure, and AI-driven development. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Probably more of the no-code stack, serious no-code stack would probably include the kind of cursor functionalities.
Exactly. Definitely. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, because coding with AI-driven development, I've tried that. It's sometimes we were talking about accessibility. I even wonder how far you can go learning to code with AI if you have like no technical background and to understand what you are doing with the AI, with the help of AI. So sometimes it's still blurry for me, but we'll see. We'll see. But I guess right now local platforms are better in terms of accessibility to develop applications
Yeah, and
internally.
probably
Or
it will come
companies.
also from the news. I mean, the students today learn to code will also learn in another way. Like more of the students today use ChatGPT for writing, homeworks. Probably the programmer will learn to program with AI, and the new generation of coder that they will probably not understand very well everything about language, but they will know how to build tools because they will not need, to learn the language like we learn in the engineering school, and we used to learn the grammar and the vocabulary of a computer. But it's not necessary anymore. I think.
Awesome. Talking about starting, companies want to start. We mentioned earlier, like we want the best way to recommend way that for companies to start with no code is to start with a little POC on your side.
Yeah.
If I'm a worker in a company and I'm trying to implement something, a POC in no code, I install a no code platform or a software to do something on my own. For example, like Airtable or a software, and I try something on my own side. How then you make sure that projects remain scalable and secure? Because if you do that and then you, instead of going to your manager and say, hey, I've done this, let's do something with the whole department. And if you go to a colleague and the colleague do the same and the other colleagues do the same, and then you have all those shadow IT, you know what I mean? You see where I'm going? How do you remain scalable? How do you remain secure in these initiatives?
That's a good question. And shadow IT, I think the risk with no code is also to create more shadow IT. And that's a risk because you give the tools to everyone to start it to build their own finally tools, even more than before. So you're right. After all, it's a question of management. I think you have to even if it's no code, even if it's more accessible, we have to do it like before. You have a strategy to define a goal. On that matter, for me in the enterprise, it should not change. The risk, it's because the tool is easier to use and everybody can use it. You can have some people will be really, attract to build by themselves immediately before even not starting to write the specification or whatever. That's interesting because I see now in the company many teams use the no-code, and especially the front end, as a specifications document. They even don't write specification, because they know it, because the business logic and the development it's owned by the same person. So they sit on the computer and they started to develop, and they use, for example, we talked about WeWebs before. They use WeWeb to make a prototype, and this prototype would be the base of the specification. And that's interesting also.
Yeah, it's like,
for that.
It makes me think like the first day of, Scrum is based on extreme programming. Makes me think about extreme programming,
Yeah, there is something like that. Yeah, you're right.
ship.
You're right. But it's interesting also because you build a kind of prototype in the same time, or MVP or POC in the same time.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, we have to be a bit disciplined also.
Yeah.
But it's new. It's why I say that the no-code is also changing the organization of the project and the human resources internally.
Yeah, it makes everything's shorter, iteration faster. So, and
Absolutely.
everything is doing at a very, very light speed. So, like it. You've played a leadership role in both startups and large corporations, guiding, this digital transformation. What are the most critical factors for a successful technology adoption in a corporate environment?
It's a good question. I think to be adopted, it's to be democratized, that everybody understand, and that answer a needs. I mean, tech for tech. I mean, I talked before about tech for good. That means we use tech to make good things. We try. But do tech for techs, I think it's limitation of adoption, and also it should be add value for the enterprise. I give you an example. I work for some company when we build like amazing tools with intranet and many things. But at the end of the day, the user prefer to go on Excel because it's quicker and they know how to use it. So to have an adoption, it should be democratized to see the benefits for all, not only for the tech or not only so for all. You can have with the no-code, sometimes you have some resistance from the tech side.
Yes.
Because there are some people are on the same place for 10, 20 years developing the same way, and now you come and they hear no code, they hear no coder. That's not the same.
No developer needed.
Yeah, exactly. So if we want this kind of adoption, we can onboard all this team on the no code and show off the benefits for all. When I'm organizing a no code day, for example, I put everybody in the same room. I talk globally, but also personally, because I know that each one have his own agenda and fears also. So I think for that it's super important.
Yeah, and we mentioned earlier citizen dev. There's also this concept of fusion teams, right, where no coders and coders goes hand to hand. Like the IT team helps the no coders, and they work together, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's not one or the other.
Yeah, you're right. I think the most critical factors are a clear vision, strong executive support. It's important, and a structured approach to change management. And the successful adoption requires not only selecting the right technology. I think it's a mistake to say, okay, I will use Mendix. But before using the right technology or the right tools, you have to ensure that the alignment with the company's strategic goals, and engaging and training the employees, setting a realistic timeline, and fostering a culture of continuous learning are crucial, because it's not like you learn one tool and it's finished. It's always evolving. And I think without this element, even the most advanced technology can struggle to deliver real value. This is my opinion.
And we go back to the first question, like, what's a CPO, what's a CTO? And now you can clearly see it's clarity. It's all about clarity.
I think the work today, the roles of CTO evolving. I mean, and also because no code and AI become more integrated, the role of the CTO is evolving, like from a purely technical leader to a strategic partner in the business transformation. And that's super interesting to see today the role of the CTOs. I mean, for the one evolves, and as no code and AI become more embedded, the CTOs will focus more on guiding digital strategy, ensuring the governance, and align tech initiative with the business goal. So the CTOs today, I mean, the new kind of CTO should understand the business goal and the product also. And they will also need to champion a culture that embrace new tools and methodology, enabling like cross-functional teams to leverage technology autonomously. And in this new role, the CTO will be a critical bridge between the technology and the business innovations. And I guess.
That's exactly where I do see things too. We are aligned on that one. I totally agree.
I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, Frederic, we are heading to the end. Maybe a last question before we jump to the closing questions.
Okay.
Looking back at your career, what projects or accomplishments are you the most proud of?
Wow. In terms of no code you talk about, or like in general?
Yeah, what lessons have you, the biggest lessons you've learned across your career?
I think we learn more from our mistake. And we say when you do a mistake, it's not a fail, it's learning. I remember I developed an intranet for Yves Rocher. I don't know if you know this big brand that is a part of a group. It's a cosmetic brand. I was like freshly, just finished my studying, and they asked me to develop the intranet. And I came with a very technical view, and I built an amazing technical intranet, super speed, and with a team. And there is no really product leader. The intranet was led by the tech people. Okay, because at this age, we thought that intranet is technical questions, not a process or a product. Even if it's an internal product, it was managed by the technical person and like me. We build like hours. We used to develop it in Cold Fusion. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it was all language. That's super interesting also. And we developed days and nights an amazing intranet. It was amazing. I think probably one of the best tech products I developed with backup, with everything at this time. And nobody used it. Nobody used it and they stopped it.
Oh, wow.
Why? The interface and the user are very basic user that are not very, and the mistake was we didn't involve the user and in the process. Nowadays it seems impossible to make this mistake, but this day I learned a lot. And today when I'm started a new project, I am directly on board in my team, the user, the partner, the customers, everybody. Even if I'm a tech guy, even if I will develop with no code platform, whatever, and I know they can even sometimes make their own customizations, I onboard a larger team, and I make the boundaries between the tech and the product like smaller. I think this is one of my, but I can't say I'm proud, but I want to say I learn, and that's super important to learn.
Yes.
But I have also many success, and I'm proud of it also about it. And now with no code, everything is accelerated, and I like the idea that the no code is more accessible for all. So it's become super interesting to see that in the tech team now we have people less tech, but more product.
Yes. Yeah. And you can see the shift. It also happened to me.
Yeah.
I was heading to become a full stack dev, and then I met no code, and I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then I switched to product. Okay, long story short. Yeah. All right. Last questions. So I have a couple of questions I want you to ask without overthinking about it. All right. What question do you wish I asked but I didn't?
Okay. What questions? Maybe I would have enjoyed discussing the role of the ethics in AI and no code. And as these technologies evolve rapidly, I think it's crucial to consider their ethical implication, especially concerning privacy and transparency also, and fairness. The question how we address these issues now will shape the future impact of AI and no code. I know nobody likes to talk about it, but because we are the founder of these, I want to say, revolutions, This is our responsibility to say there is ethics
Yeah.
question also on the table. Don't put it under the carpet. Just talk about it. And I think it's super important. Like in the business, like in
Like
the
in this,
private.
I was going to say exactly the same. Like, we often overlook that in business. We say, oh yeah, business, no ethics. The main purpose of business is to make money, but I don't think so, because it's and you have like a lot of literature, economists on that, who wrote a lot of essays on the role of companies in the society, and it's not just economic agents. It's much more than that, and actually it's a good thing about talking about ethic nowadays, because it's very important. It's very important, and most of the time we don't think about it. We just think money, economical agents, but it's more than that. We make sense of the I mean, that's very philosophical, but like the sense of working, the purpose of working, it's to improve your life, right?
Exactly.
If you don't, as a company, have this ethics in mind, you don't know where to go. There is no clarity. We mentioned that before. But
Totally.
it's very important. It's like your life. If you just go to work and you do work and then you rest and then you work again, there's no purpose. There's no love. There's nothing. So what's the goal of that? So
exactly.
That's also very important. Yeah. All right. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what challenge do you tackle?
In 5 years, I see myself continuing to help organizations innovate and drive digital transformation, because it's a never-ending story. We also always have to transform ourselves, but probably with an even stronger focus on integrating AI and no-code with ethical consideration. And I hope to tackle challenges around creating more accessible, responsible technology solutions that benefit a broader range of user and also industry. I mean, we have so much still to do, and it's just the beginning for sure.
Yeah, it's ever evolving. There's one constant, it's change.
Exactly.
All right. Who are your favorite creators or tech innovators that inspire you?
Wow, so many. Where to start? I'm inspired by people like Patrick Collisson, for example, the co-founder of Stripe, for his focus on building infrastructure that make complex processes seamless and accessible. And I think that's very good example of it's a very good example. It's very inspiring. Also, I admire like guys like Red Hoffman for his insight on scaling business and creating impactful networks. The founder of LinkedIn. It's a very inspiring guy using AI and very good advocate. And somewhere also like people like Elon Musk. I'm not talking about the but I'm talking about the the entrepreneur. And so let's just talk about it. Don't give me words I didn't say. But somewhere Elon Musk pushed the boundaries of what is possible. This guy is crazy, and I like the fact that he's going where nobody thought it could be possible. And all of these guys embody a commitment to simplifying technology to empower others. And which really resonates my own passion for democratizing digital innovations. And additionally, I find the inspiration in the open source community also.
Oh, yeah.
Where collaborating and knowledge sharing, that I think it's super important, and also push the boundaries of what's possible in technology. The fact that it's open.
We didn't mention that, but open source, we also have like open source no-code tools coming. It's just crazy. And I like this open library stuff.
Totally. I think it's it's really interesting to see what it brings on the table. Yeah.
I love those tools. I'm not going to mention them, but
for another podcast.
Another podcast, yeah.
Next one, no code and open source. We can talk a lot about it also.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool what's going on there with open source. All right. What are your favorite podcasts or books? Do you have like a book that changed your life or podcast?
So my favorite podcast is Antonio podcast. Yours?
Come on.
I think one book that's really influenced me is Lean Startup. from Eric Rice, and I think it really provides a framework for innovation and adaptations. And I think it's interesting for me because I'm come from the tech side. I'm come from the engineer. I can't give you millions of books of algorithms for sure, but I mean, I can't say it influenced me, it helped me. But I mean, I think lean startup it's something that I use now like like automatic reflect. And another one another is like super intelligence by Nick Bostrom. I don't know if you I don't remember his name.
With
Bostrom,
a hole, right?
Yeah,
On
which
the
is
cover?
he explores the future of artificial intelligence and its potential impact of humanity.
Yes.
And both
Frightening.
of these are shape really my approach of the technology and its applications. And I think this is an answer, but also I can give you thousands of books.
I can imagine. Old books lover and geek, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I wrote few books myself also in the past.
Really?
Yeah, I wrote
What did
books.
you write?
I wrote books about Java and the architecture, like client-server architecture for Microsoft
No
Press
way.
and also for Errol. Yeah, I write books about coding for mobile application.
Awesome.
I have also, I write in the past, but it takes a lot of energy for me to write.
It takes a lot of energy to create a high quality. It's like when you write your thesis, it takes time to really write something that has value, that works. And then the frustrating part with that is that you write something, you put so much effort, and in 1, 2 years, maybe 5 years, the value is close to zero.
Yeah, in the tech side, that's right.
Oh my God, what a frustration. But okay.
You're right.
Maybe this podcast will have like a...
we need to redo it every year.
Lifetime value of, exactly.
But look, we talk about a lean startup, for example. It's not a new book.
No, exactly. So that's very important because I'm glad you mentioned that because we also talk about tech, but there's also a good sentence I like to remind. It's like tech is what children teach to their parents, but science is what parents teach their children. And I think behind tech, you have science. And this is why we talk about computer science and not computer tech or a tech bachelor degree, because it's science behind that.
Absolutely.
Each time, this is why university and schools are always, there's still a place for them. Most of people say, yeah, AI will replace education and stuff like that, blah, blah. But science, as soon as you can think on a higher level, like universities try to teach, there's going to be something to teach that can last forever. Archimedes and all the philosophers and stuff like that, they are super ancient, but they are still relevant, right? You have this stoicism hype at a certain point in Silicon Valley. And, sometimes you go back because it's sometimes looking back that you know where to go in front of you. So
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Who should I invite next in this podcast?
Yeah, that's a good question also. Maybe you can invite... If you want to still talk about the NoCode, you mean? Probably an editor. I think it could be useful, or maybe customer also. I think it could be very interesting for your auditors that they have some experiences from the customer itself that the big company started to use really in the real life, the NoCode, and what the implication inside the company. I mean, where is that really a revolutions and evolutions, and is the promise the promise is really there or not yet? I don't know. It could be interesting for people who want to move to do NoCode. Yeah, I can recommend. I work with these last years. I work with many big corporate to integrate the NoCode in the stacks. And if you've been in the summit, probably you saw me on the stage with some of these big brands. And there is company like Decathlon and like BNP, and that they started La Poste. They use NoCode for years now. They're one of the first one to move to NoCode. So they started to have very valuable experiences and probably to share with your auditors. For sure, I think it could be super interesting.
Awesome. That's a good point. I've never thought about that. But okay, thanks. You unlock something. All right. Where can our listeners find you?
Say again, sorry?
Where our listeners can find you.
You can find me on LinkedIn. You have my
All
name,
right.
maybe somewhere on there.
I will put on the description.
Yeah, I will
This
be
is,
super happy to
of
talk
course.
with anyone who wants to share experiences. I'm also very often in groups like events, or we have No Code France,
Yeah.
and and we have international events. I'm always in Vivatech. I'm talking and speaking very often in like No Code Summit, and so many occasions to talk with me. I will be very happy to have. And also for the corporate, they ask themselves a lot of questions and how they
Mm,
can integrate the no code in their company, which tools using, what the methodology. I'm very open and very happy to share.
yeah. Awesome. I'll do. I'll do share your
Thank you.
LinkedIn in the description, Frédéric. Frédéric, thanks again for your time. Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
insight. It was a real pleasure to have you on this podcast.
Very happy. Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye.
friend.